All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to Granite Gardens, our kitchen here at Granite Gardens. We are trying out the lives thing again. Over the last few weeks, we've actually gained quite a bit more subscribers. And so I thought that it would be great to jump on and kind of reintroduce ourselves, talk to you guys a little bit about what we do and kind of our background and our story, and then talk a little bit about our game plans and what you can expect moving forward. I also wanted to just open up an opportunity for everyone, excuse me, to ask questions. So if you are watching the replay of this, feel free to enter questions in as well as you watch, and I'll do my best to try and get back to them. So I know tonight is a busy night for everybody in the US at least, right? Um, Thanksgiving is tomorrow, so there's a lot going on tonight, a lot of prepping and starting of big meals at least. But it just worked out that I had the week off of work. So I figured I would try and squeeze in a live while I had that opportunity. This is one thing that we don't do often that I think I'd like to try and do more of because they're fun. So, some things that we've got some trips planned coming up, obviously, for the holidays. And so we're trying to kind of get things put together for the holidays, but like be aware of all the stuff that's on the to do list. I did actually get our Christmas stuff up. I think as much Christmas stuff up that's going to be up this week as well. So I feel accomplished. We got the tree together and knickknacks and stuff in the kitchen and littered throughout the house. So that's what my time off has been so far this week is like binge watching Christmas movies and decorating. The weather's been touch and go. So there hasn't been like there's been a couple nice days, but then it's also been really, really cold. And I haven't been paying attention to the weather. So I wake up every morning just surprised, I guess. But I just had it in my head that, oh, it's Thanksgiving. I'm gonna get ready for Christmas. So like in my head, it's supposed to be really cold outside, but it was actually really nice out the last couple days. I tried to go out and like scavenge the yard to see if there was anything that I could use for DIY Christmas like decorations. I like to add natural stuff in the house as decoration. So I've got stuff like pine needles that I got off the pine tree, pine cones. Got those little pom poms that dried and like put them up on the Christmas tree, and I thought that was really pretty. So one thing that I did really kind of want to touch on here is to do a full recap of kind of our story and what we're doing. I think that there's a lot of people that I've recently started doing shorts on YouTube, so we've been getting like people coming in from that direction that I realize may not be as familiar with our story and our videos coming in from like watching shorts as the people that have kind of come up with us through our longer YouTube videos. So Tyler and I started dating about 5 years ago. He's in the other room. I'm wondering if he's listening. 6 years ago. And prior to that, I'd always kind of had this passion for like a big garden. There was this movie that I used to watch when I was little called The Secret Garden, and I've always wanted that kind of concept. I've been in love with that idea. And so I had not had anything remotely garden-esque. And so I think it was right when we first about started dating. Um, I really wanted to put a garden bed in. So my dad had made a raised bed. It was like a 4x4 raised bed out of my old swing set when I was a kid and put it in my backyard. And so that's like kind of what I started with. And it's funny because if you look through, I shared this video not that long, or this photo not that long ago on our Facebook page. And if you look through, hi mom, hi dad, garlic is planted, but nothing's happening yet. But I think that's a good thing. But yeah, so we started this raised bed. It was a 4x4 raised bed, and I shared this picture on our YouTube or our Facebook page not that long ago, and it was a picture of the first garden, and it was so overgrown, and there was stuff just popping up all over the place that I couldn't even identify. I think I started all of those from seed that year as well. But I really didn't know what I was doing. And so I think that there was quite a few weeds that got into that raised bed. And I had no idea what they were, but I was so proud of them. I specifically remember one plant that came up that I thought was lettuce. Looking back in hindsight, it was not lettuce that year. It was not. But I picked it and ate it. I don't know. I didn't die, so I guess it wasn't terrible for me, but yeah, inexperienced. And so from there, Tyler came into the picture, and we both kind of had this passion for gardening and growing our own food and learning like about that and learning what that looked like and what that entailed. And so we just kind of built onto this concept, and it became what we have now. So what we have currently, we are on an 1.5 acres, but we really only use like probably a third of that. But we have quite a variety of stuff. So we've got our standard, like what I call the big garden. And so that's where we've got like our variety of vegetables and such growing. And then we have a whole section that's all for herbs, which was a dream of mine, which is awesome because I can just kind of go out there when I'm cooking or if I want to make tea and just pick what I need and bring it in. But I've been doing a lot of dehydrating too with that bed too, but we'll get into that in a minute. What else we have? Tyler has a tropical garden that he started within the last couple of years, which has been pretty cool. It's got a variety of stuff in it. I know we've got our elderberries growing in there, and they did really well this year, which was awesome because we had been purchasing dried elderberry for the longest time to make elderberry syrup. So we will not have to do that ever again. I feel confident we're going to get enough elderberries now. We also have the food forest. So our food forest is very small, but it was really the concept of just trying to envision, what a food forest is, learn about the different elements and how they all work together. It was more of an experimental setup. It was not ever designed to like be forever. But it's been fun to kind of play with that idea. And in the food forest, we've got pawpaws, comfrey, which we use for all sorts of things. Comfrey we use for fertilizer. Tyler does a little comfrey fertilizer mix in the summertime that can get awfully stinky, but the plants love it. And I do comfrey salve, which is really great for things like achy joints or achy muscles. We make that from our comfrey. And hi, Walterman Homestead. I hope you guys are doing well. So that was kind of a cool concept. It was something different, and unheard of. Not necessarily unheard of, but not normally what you would see on a tiny little plot of land, right? We got our greenhouse, which was an awesome addition. That video is a lot of fun to watch. We filmed that one. Our neighbors across the street actually gave us theirs and delivered it here on the back of their lawnmower. It was a really great video. I highly suggest watching it. We had a blast that day. But the greenhouse has come in handy quite a bit. And so that offers us the ability to like kind of lengthen, I guess you would say, our growing season. Now, we haven't really dabbled in the concept of like using it past fall yet, even though I would like to. And I keep saying, like I said, this year, we're going to do it. We're going to try and put some like lettuce or whatever out there and see how it went. But what it does help with is early in the spring, we've got our grow station set up in the basement where we start all of our plants from seed. And that grow station gets overcome by all of these plants that we get started. And so it's nice once they get big to be able to move them out in the greenhouse and have them kind of get established before we put them in the ground. Hi, Miss Amy. How are you? Thanks for jumping on. So yeah, and then we've got some others like odds and ends stuff that we do. We added 2 smaller beds this year, which I think was an excellent idea. And the space that they're in, it was perfect. We had really wanted, decorating the table. Awesome. That'll be fun. I hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. Those extra beds that we put in this year were a game changer because I really wanted to start growing potatoes and onions on like a larger scale, and we just didn't have the space to do the quantity that we wanted. So just having those beds that were designated to just onions and potatoes this year was worth it. I think we could improve on our potato growing a little bit, so we need some practice there. But it wasn't terrible. We got a harvest out of it. So those I think were a game changer for us, just having space dedicated to big things. Oh, and then I added asparagus this year to our food forest too, which was exciting. You don't pick from asparagus for like quite a few years. Hi, Kimberly. So we kind of held off on that because, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, like we weren't sure how long we were going to be here, but we were like, why would we plant something if we're not going to ever be here to see it? But I just decided this year, it's like, we're doing it. We're doing it. Whether we'll be here or not. If we're here, great. If we're not, then we're blessing the family that moves in behind us with asparagus. Thank you, Mama. I'm glad you enjoyed the pumpkin pie. Loved that. We had a lot of fun doing the pumpkin pie. I really enjoy making it from scratch. It's a lot of fun. But I have this need to I love to use Cinderella pumpkins when I make pumpkin pie, just because they're pretty to decorate with. So I like having them out to like decorate through Halloween and everything, and then using them for pie. But the problem is like Cinderella pumpkins are so massive that you end up with pumpkin puree for days. And so last year, I think we froze the pumpkin puree and we got creative with it. I know we made a couple pies and then we made a couple meals out of it, I think. And then this year we did one pie for Thanksgiving with my parents, which we did earlier this week. And then I think we finished off the pumpkin. Did we finish that all today, babe? Yes. We finished off the pumpkin tonight. Tyler made dinner. And so he did like a pumpkin and peppers and potatoes, pumpkins, peppers, potatoes, and sausage. And it was so good. So we finally made it through that pumpkin, but I was thinking that we were going to end up I lied. There is a couple cups in the freezer still that I did set aside if we wanted to make another pumpkin pie. But yeah, love it. I think it's so fun making pumpkin pies from scratch. Yeah, I don't know what my pumpkins are called. They're the big white skin ones, Kimberly said. I don't know. So I have not I've stuck with like very particular pumpkins when I do pumpkin pies. Like it's either Cinderella pumpkins or pie pumpkins. Now, Tyler's mom had given us some seeds of these really cool pumpkins. Like there was like tiger stripe ones, and then there was like bumpy ones a few years ago, and we tried to grow them in our big back lot with the garden beds that we put out in the woods. And I was so excited for those, but that failed epically. That went downhill fast. We did not get any pumpkins out of that garden in the backwoods. So I just don't think there's enough light back there. Why is Tyler making you do all the heavy lifting in this video? He's participating from afar. Aunt Lisa's going nuts trying to figure out how to get on with her PC so she can chat. It's so cute. I don't know who this is. Who is that? Is that Billy? Hi, Aunt Linda. I don't know who these guys are. You gotta tell me who you are. Yes. Hi, Billy. How are you? So yeah, so our that was kind of the concept. That's really where we started. We started with something really small, and then Tyler and I started dating, and we just kind of like built from there. And it really I believe it started as like, he'd come over or whatever and to like hang out, and we'd be like, "Hey, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to build a garden? Like, do you want to plant some vegetables?" Like that was what we did, and then it just kind of accumulated into this like hobby that became a very much full-time job kind of hobby, like that's just what we did together. And then before any of that, like the term homesteading was not in my vocabulary. I did not really know what that was. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know what it meant. Like I pictured homesteading like you had to have cows and like, big farmland, and there was requirements in order for you to own that title. And I think that it's sad that people feel that way because it takes away the passion a little bit of the romanticness of living in it. And so after I kind of like discovered that, a lot of that was through YouTube and watching videos and making friends through YouTube, that I understood what this like term homesteading meant. And I dove deeper into it. And the further that you dive into it, the more that you understand that it's not just this glamorous romantic vision of like, Little House on the Prairie. Like it's a lifestyle. There's skills, and there's research, and there's work involved in it all. And so that was when I started getting really excited about it and started going down all of these different avenues of, okay, gardens obviously is where I started. And I was like, okay, what kind of garden do I want? Do I want like a kitchen garden, something small and something that I can get to? Do I want, a massive garden? No, I don't have the space for that, even though I'd love it. Um, there was this concept that I came across called a potager garden. That is really where my heart is when it comes to designing a garden. And the potager garden is more or less this like hodgepodge of very much kind of arts mixed in with gardening, but very much handcrafted, and it's just really gorgeous. And so that was what I envisioned was what I really wanted at some point. And I get to put a little bit of that into the gardens that we have. I try to, at least. So from there, we went to the garden thing, and then I started like learning more about how to properly preserve food. You're going to grow it. You need to know how to cook it and how to preserve it, right? Why would you let all of that hard work go to waste and just rot on the counter? You need to know how to properly use it. And that was years of research, which I still to this day, I'm better than I was, but I don't consider myself an expert. But learning how to can. So I there was this water bath canner, and it was a whole set that went up on Marketplace on Facebook. Excuse me. It was like for like $20, and it was a lady down the street. She's like, I just don't use it. I just need to get rid of it. And so I jumped on. I was like, well, come pick it up right now. $20 for like the whole set. I mean, it had the little grabby things. It had the measuring stick, the debubbler, like all of that. And I remember I went and got it, and she was like, "Oh, are you a canner?" And I said, "Never done it before in my life." She's like, "Oh." Yeah, I'm gonna learn how though. I don't need to know. I'll figure it out. We'll get there. I remember her saying, "Well, it's a good thing that you're starting with a water bath and not a pressure canner." And that scared me. I always did have a bit of a fear about pressure canners. To be completely honest with you, I still do. I get this like nervousness that I'm gonna explode my kitchen. Your great uncle Bob used to breed rabbits for food in his garage. Yes. Okay. So yeah, yes. So we've thought about it. Like the conversation has come up, but it was shut down very quickly, and about raising rabbits, breeding rabbits. And the reality of it is that like they're just so cute. Um so after, I got through the whole concept of gardening and, kind of getting into the preserving the food thing, then I wanted chickens, right? And that happened faster than I explained it or I expected it to be completely transparent. Like I wanted chickens. Like the thought was like, "Oh, we should get chickens." And then it was like, "I need chickens." And then it was like, "Get chickens," right? It was funny because it was about a week before Tyler and I were planning on getting chickens. I hurt myself bad. I twisted my ankle really, really bad. And I just remember crying hysterically because in my head, I was like, "We're never going to get these chickens now." Like we were supposed to bring these baby chicks back. And you have to keep them in a brooder for so long, and like you got to tend to them and stuff. And it was just not going to be possible if I couldn't move. I couldn't walk. I bawled my eyes out because I thought we weren't going to get our chicks. And Tyler ended up surprising me. He got them for me anyways. Bless his heart. So with the chickens came this whole new realm, right? Everyone always told me, they're like, if you want chickens, get them because they're easy. They're so easy, just get them. And in like a day-to-day basis, chickens are easy. They take very little effort on a day-to-day basis. But I wasn't prepared for some of the like big picture chicken issues. One being like we got our chicks from southern states, and they're supposed to be sexed before you get them, but there's always that chance that you might end up with a rooster, right? But they sell them as hens. But we ended up with a rooster. And so long story short, the rooster gets to an age where he likes the ladies, and he was just like, he was not being nice to them. And so we got to the point where we decided like he needs to go. He's more trouble alive than he would be dead. So we're gonna butcher him and we're gonna eat him. We're not gonna let him go to waste. Well, the week before, or the week of butchering week, right, that we were planning on it being his final days, one of our hens went broody. And so we were like, we'll let her hatch out her eggs. Maybe we'll get a couple hens. Like, that'd be great to replace Jeffrey, which was our rooster that was going to freezer camp. And come to find out, she did hatch her eggs. She hatched 2 successfully, and they were both roosters. Both of them, 2 boys. So we went through that whole process again. They had to go at some point. And that last rooster that we did, um, I can't remember. I think that there was complications with a hen as well that we had to do on that one. I can't remember for sure. Either way, I just remember turning to Tyler and I was like, I don't want to do this again. Like this is hard. Like it emotionally messed with me to a point where I was like, I don't want to do this again, at least not for a while. So we've talked about raising chickens, meat chickens, which I think at some point we will get to that point. But like with just it was a busy time in our life, and having to look at spending your weekend doing something like that was just a little overwhelming. Um, but Billy mentioned rabbits. So like we talked about potentially doing rabbits because they're easy to breed, right? Like they quick movers, lots of babies, and lots of food if you're willing to do it and store them, right? But I don't know. I I struggled with the chickens, and I just don't know that I don't know that I could do rabbits. I don't know if Kimberly's on here anymore, Greenwich Homestead, but she does rabbits. Um, so I would have people I could lean on to ask to walk me through it, but I just don't know that I could. I'm not sure. So when we first started out, I tried to think of like what our goals were, but we didn't have goals because we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't even know that that was the direction we were going in. We were just kind of holding on to it and going along for the ride. But we've learned like the skills that I've taken away from that are everything. And it's crazy to think that this all started at a time when it wasn't a cool thing to do. Homesteading was not cool. What about fish? Have you ever looked into aquaculture? You feed the fish and then the waste that feeds your garden. Yeah, there's another word for that too, isn't there? We've looked into it, right? Um, it, doing it properly, at least what I've seen, takes a lot of setup. I think I think Greenwich Homestead does that as well. I know she does something with fish. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of that kind of goes into that if you want to do it, especially if you want to do it on a large scale. I can't remember the name of the YouTuber that I used to watch, but he had like a whole greenhouse in his greenhouse set up in his backyard, and you walk in and he just had massive tanks down the side of all these fish and filtering systems and everything. And then he had all these like full grown plants. Like he had a full grown tomato in the middle of winter. It was very cool. Yeah, it's a lot of work for sure. But very neat. And what's neat about that too, if I remember correctly, he did live in a colder area. So like places like Michigan, where you do have a really short growing season, that would be really cool to have access to stuff like that. Okay, Kathy said VW Family Farm used to do fish as well. Yeah. Um, yeah, they're a great channel to check out for resources. But it is really neat, the whole concept. But again, like I think it would be beneficial to have it in areas where like you have a shorter grow season. Like I would rather just go out and plant my stuff in the ground. Hi, Uncle Dan. Happy Thanksgiving. So yeah, we started this. I think we started fish I wouldn't feel bad about slaughtering. Yeah, I don't think I would feel bad about fish either. But to be honest with you, Bill, like I would love to do fishing. That was actually something that the last 2 years were on my to-do list, was to like get a license and go fishing on a regular basis. Um, and we just didn't get around to it. This year I'll give myself grace. I think with the wedding we had excuses. Um, but the concept of like just fishing. I've been telling Tyler for years. I was like, I really want to go fishing. I want to like catch the fish, clean the fish, cook the fish. Like I want a whole day of it. You know, like that's our meal. We don't get anything else. So if we don't catch anything, we go hungry. Like we have to do this. Hi Linda, this is Michael Jory. Is mom still on here? I don't know. Um, so the skills that I've learned from doing all of this stuff has been amazing. I mean, I would have had no idea starting out in that whole like I just want a small garden phase that I would be on this other side of like I know how to do all of this stuff by myself, you know? That is insane because if you would go and talk to the Melissa from 2017, which I believe is when we started our YouTube channel, and be like, hey, look, in a handful of years, this is what you're going to be doing with your life, I would have rolled my eyes and probably walked away. But I'm thrilled about it. I absolutely love the life that we live. And so that was the other thing, like we got into this before it was cool. And then different things happened, obviously we went through 2020 and like grocery stores and stuff like that. Things just looked different to the general population. And so people started being like, hey, like maybe it would be worth it for me to throw a tomato plant or two in the ground in my backyard so that I can pick stuff and not have to leave to get food. And so there was this like explosion of people that just got interested in something that they had never done before. And I just think it was really cool to be a part of that. Oh yeah, fishing. Mom says she wants to go fishing and crabbing. I do too. Crabbing is another one that was on my list. And mom has the crabbing pots. It's terrible to say that we live in Maryland and I've never been crabbing before in my life. People say it's really easy to do. Like I've heard so many people be like, you just go get like a chicken neck or whatever from Food Lion, tie a string to it and drop it in the bay. Like I'm disappointed that I've never done that. I think the closest thing that I've ever come to crabbing was being on like a dock and like the crabs were crawling up the posts. We were like picking at them with sticks and nets and stuff, but like I never actually like caught something and brought it home and ate it. But that's definitely something I want to do as well. For sure. Yeah, so some of the other skills that we've gone through, I mean, obviously butchering chickens was uh quite a skill. It was funny because like we really wanted to learn the process of butchering chickens. Like we had come to this decision, like we had talked about Tyler and I, if we're going to eat this stuff, I would like to say that we have processed it at some point in our life. Tyler, he's on the couch over here on the other side of the screen. But we talked about how we would like to process stuff, maybe not necessarily have it at home. Obviously, again, we're on a small lot, but just to be able to say, like, we know how to process something, we've processed X, Y, and Z. If we're going to eat it, we want to know what the whole process looks like. And so we were starting with chickens and aquaponics. That's the word I was thinking about. But grow crabs, crawfish instead of fish. So here's my question. I don't know about growing crabs. Like, now I have to throw the Maryland card out there. Like, if you're gonna eat a crab, like a homegrown crab, I feel like they're supposed to kind of taste like the bay, which isn't everyone's favorite flavor. But to me, that's what they're supposed to taste like. Excuse me. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. I know. I'm aware. Cousins. Mom's talked about you. Yeah. um all right, so the butchering chickens, that was a big skill. So it was ironic how that all worked out. Our friends, the Stivers from the Stivers homestead, they were butchering chickens, and they had said to us at some point, like, "Hey, if you guys ever want to learn how to butcher chickens, like, y'all are more than welcome to come down here and help us butcher ours." Like, you know what I mean? Four sets of hands are better than two, and just come down and we'll teach you how to do it, and then you can help. And we're like, "Hey, that sounds like a great idea. We're in." And so we went knowing that Jeffrey, our first rooster, his time was coming up. So the whole concept was we were going to go there. We were going to butcher chickens with people that had done it before and know what they're doing. And then we were going to come home and do it ourselves with our rooster. And that was just, not something that was going through my head back in March when I was like jumping up and down and I was like, I can't wait to get chickens. Let's get chickens. I wasn't thinking about that part. And then we had to do it again like 3 or 4 times. But hey, I can say that I like legit know how to butcher a chicken now by myself if I had to. So that was, one of those skills that was unexpected, but I mean, worth it. It's nice to know that I could do that, if I had to. Along with the butchering chickens and like preserving food concept of water glassing eggs has like officially this particular year become very important to us. So we got our chickens in 2020. Typically, chickens on average will lay for about 5 years, and then they're going to slow down, and then eventually peter out to where they don't lay anymore. And then chickens typically do not lay over the winter unless you put artificial light in their coop, to kind of trick their bodies into thinking that the days are longer. Well, we didn't want to do the artificial light route. And for the last 2 winters that we've had them, they have laid throughout the winter. It has slowed down, but they have provided eggs throughout the winter. And so for just a handful of people, I mean, Tyler, myself, we give them to my parents, we've given them to some friends. Having them lay even just a little bit was fine for us. Like we did fine throughout the winter. Well, this winter they have stopped laying. They started molting, which is like where they shed their feathers to get their fresh feathers in, probably like the last week of September. And they don't usually lay during molt. And then around wintertime, once the days start getting shorter, they stop laying typically altogether. But ours had never done that. So this year I actually started water glassing my eggs, which that is where you put your eggs, unwashed, fresh farm fresh eggs, into a big jar with water and lime, and they preserve the eggs so that we can pull from them throughout the winter. So it's been super helpful this year, particularly because we have not been getting eggs. So we're pulling from our water glassed eggs at this point. Mom mentioned the yogurt. Thank you. Yes, I do love the yogurt. And so I've been purchasing yogurt to eat for breakfast now for a handful of months. I really like it, but it can be kind of expensive. And it like doesn't last very long if you're eating it every day, right? Or every other day. So, Detroit Tiger fan, who's that? Who are you? Hi. So I started looking into making my own yogurt, and I learned that from Greenwich Homestead. Kimberly, she was on here earlier. I started making my own yogurt, and it by far, number one, saves me a ton of money for the amount. Like I practically spend the same amount to make the yogurt from home that I would buying it from the store, and I get 4 times the amount. So it's awesome. Oh, it's Aunt Laura. Hi, Aunt Laura. So yeah, I'm now a big fan of making my own yogurt. Now in the video at the end, it did look a little like runny, but I will say After I put it in the refrigerator, it's set up just fine. Like, you would not be able to tell the difference now at all between the store-bought stuff and the stuff I made at home. So I think it did just take putting it in the refrigerator for a little while to set up, and it's delicious. So since we were talking about the yogurt, that is one of the things that I have not really dove into from a skill standpoint is things like dairy and meat. So just this year, I started canning meat. I don't like in my head, I was number one, nervous about the pressure canner. Okay. But I did end up getting a pressure canner. I got a plug-in one, which I love and I swear by, and it has done so good to me. And it just doesn't seem nearly as intimidating as like the big metal pressure canners that you have to put on the stove. So I'm still a little bit of a sissy about pressure canning, but the digital pressure canner is like amazing. And so I use that all the time and I love it. Okay. So digital pressure canner, love that. So then I finally started canning meat, and I was scared of the concept of canned meat just because it sounds gross. But you know what? It's not. It's not terrible. We've tried it a couple times. There's probably more canned meat than what we've tried, but it's a nice way, especially if you get stuff on sale, to kind of put it up without having to fill up your freezer. Because your freezers get filled up fast. And then so the yogurt was one of the dairy items that I wanted to work with. Water glassing eggs was a goal, so we got that done. Next thing that I really want to start doing is making cheese. So this winter, my goal is going to be tackling making cheese. I'm a little intimidated, but I'm going to do it. Just got my digital pressure canner this week, and I want to do meats. My first thing I did was kidney beans. Yeah, I'm in love with it now. They're amazing. So which one did you get, Kathy? We have a Nesco, which is also like Kerry. Kerry and Nesco are the same company. I think that the Kerry version is Canada. And it is just the greatest thing ever. And they've got like safety, supposedly, they've got like safety things on it so that, you won't make it blow up or whatever. That's awesome. That's awesome. Ironically, I don't think I've canned any beans. It's funny that you say that because I don't know that I've canned any beans. Hello from Frederick, Maryland. Oh, that's exciting. Hi, Dry Run Farm. I love getting locals. That's exciting. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining us. I want to do soups and meals in a jar. Yes. Yes. I'm with you. The concept of meals in a jar excites me. And just be able to dump it and kind of heat it up for sure. You'll have to let me know what soups you do because I'm a big soup lover. Tyler does not like soup. So it would be probably mostly for me, but it would be nice to have them available, just do quick heat ups. So yeah, my next goal is to do cheeses. I got a book last year. Yes, Aunt Lisa, we can see you. Billy said to tell you that we couldn't see you, but I'm not going to do that to you. Hi, I see you. Hi, Eloian. So the cheeses, I got a book, I believe it was last year, to kind of get me started on homemade cheese. And I was really excited about it because I made mozzarella, like a couple times in my life. We've made mozzarella at home from milk, before. And so I was like, oh, like, this is great. This is so easy. I can do cheese. I can totally do it. No. I opened this book and I'm telling you, I studied it. I just had it like right next to the couch for like weeks last year. And I was like, this is scary. I'm so intimidated, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I think I need to start with like a few more of the easy ones to just get them under my belt and like amp myself up. But I'm gonna do it because like cheese is like our thing. Cheese is our thing. We buy cheese every single time I go to the grocery store. I've loved cheese my entire life, and I'm super excited to be able to make my own. So, some of the things that we've talked about to take the next step is adding animals. Um, there's been the discussion of goats, which I'd really love to do. I would love to have goats and milk, to have the milk. And especially with the whole cheese concept, like that would be really cool. But I recognize that to have a goat and milk, there are certain things that need to happen. That goat needs to have a baby. And like I am like we just do not have a lifestyle right now that provides the flexibility required to care for pregnant animals that require attention. I can see you. I can see you, Aunt Lisa. Love me some goat's milk. Is that dad that said that? And are you serious? Have you even had goat's milk before? I don't know that story. Unless that was mom, which there you go. I thought so. um I like goat's milk. We've had goat's milk. Now, goat cheese, which I don't know how big of a difference this is, but the goat cheese that I purchased came from the grocery store. I was not a huge fan. I was not a huge fan. I like it melted, if that makes any sense. But like just cold goat cheese was not my jam. And so we were like, okay, like if we don't like the cheese, we can buy our own milk. Does it really make sense to have goats? And so we were like, okay, I don't know, maybe not on this property, right? Then we dove into the concept of like getting pigs. And the concept with getting pigs was that they're not forever, okay? Technically, I guess a goat doesn't have to be forever either, but if you're getting it for milking purposes, like you're keeping it around. Pigs would be a shorter, like we would have a start date and an end date, right? And we're like, oh, that could be easy. We could put them out in the woods. We have the whole setup, whatever. And then I think it was Tyler said at some point, he was like, but how are we going to get them to the butcher? Because we weren't going to butcher our own, not in the backyard. It's a little messier, I would imagine, than chickens. But so we were going to like, okay, how would we get the pigs to the butcher? I was like, oh, that's a good point. Like we would have to purchase vehicles and a trailer for that purpose. And like that just didn't seem feasible. And so I guess we're kind of sitting on it right now. Like we're not really doing anything crazy. And Lisa says she wants to try goat's milk. I really liked it. I didn't really notice that big of a difference. I mean, there's a little bit of a different taste, but like it wasn't a turnoff to me as much as the cheese was. The cheese is not okay for me. I tried. tried. I tried a couple times, but it just sat and I didn't eat it. The milk is good. So yeah, I mean, now we're kind of at the point where we're talking about, okay, what's next? What's next for us? And as most of you guys that are on here live right now, at least know, Tyler and I got married this year in September. And so we're working on, forever life goals, and we're trying to figure out what that looks like and what we need to do to get there. And I think that we both share a goal of like wanting property, larger property that we can have this stuff if we choose to. What about the soaps that the Stivers make? I heard that it makes your skin real soft. So the Stivers, yes, they make their soaps from their goat milk. And it's awesome. I mean, I have like reactions to usual normal soap that I do not have at all with their natural goat's milk soap. So if you haven't tried their soaps, I highly recommend buying one from Jen. They're amazing. They really are. I'm using one right now. I have it in our shower. So I think like what we know is that we want more property. We want to be somewhere that it is not expensive to do this, to live this lifestyle. We want to continue this lifestyle, if not build on it. And I think, like I said, the goals there would be larger garden areas for sure. I think that it would be great if we could put up the majority, like the large majority of our food for the year based off of what we grow as opposed to going to the grocery store. I think that would be a goal for sure. So obviously with that, we would start with vegetables. And then having livestock, meat chickens, I think would be a big one for us if we had the space and the setup to do meat chickens and be able to put those in the freezer and just provide our own food. A lot of it comes down to my concept of like just being able to know what goes in your food is a huge thing. It's funny because like Tyler and I will talk, we'll go out to dinner, or we'll like order something, and we don't feel good at all afterwards just because we're so like our bodies are used to our homemade meals that a lot of it comes from our garden. Some of it we got from farmers, local farmers over the summer, and I canned stuff. So things like our tomatoes and corn were from local farmers that I canned because we can't grow corn here. We don't have enough space. And the tomatoes that we grow usually go fast. So I needed to get those from a farmer. But like our green beans, those are all ours. We have a ton of jars that I put up of our own green beans. Do you make homemade bread? Yes. Okay. Great point. That's another thing that I've really started branching out on. So for a while, I was making our homemade, like our sandwich bread homemade, and it was great. My biggest thing is that like I can't seem to get like it seems a little dense when I make it. If that does that make sense? Like the store bought stuff is like it's like squishy. Like you can kind of go like this and it like opens back up. I want to like do something like that. I want it to be a little bit more spongy. But I was making our own bread for our sandwich bread for a while. Now recently I started participating in what they're calling Dovember. Most of that I think has been through TikToks and shorts on YouTube. I don't think I've done any long videos on it, but I've been doing all different kinds of breads and I love it. I made this one the other day that I kind of like entirely winged on my own and it turned out pretty good, I think. It was a Thai pepper honey bread. So good. So good. So yes, homemade breads are fun because you can really get creative with them. Yes. So I love making bread. Maybe kneading it more might help. That might be my thing. I prefer when possible to use our KitchenAid mixer because I'm lazy when it comes to kneading bread. And I think that could potentially be a little bit of a setback. I do think so. I think some breads, like you just really need to just put your hands on it. Maybe it's just the extra love that makes it better, but I think some of it you're just better off putting your own hands on, which I can do. I will do that. I've been messing around and trying different stuff out recently, so I'm really excited about that. I think that I will perfect the sandwich bread. I will. It'll get there someday, for sure. Mom says you make an amazing pie crust. Thank you. Yeah, that pie crust I shared in the pumpkin pie video is you should keep that on hand. Like write that down and leave that somewhere because it is excellent. It is so delicious and it's fast. I think that's the hardest part. I mean, some of the dough or the pie crust recipes, same thing goes with pizza dough. I've got another like semi-fast pizza dough one, like are my go-tos because some of them like they'll take days practically um for you to get like the crust or the dough right. And most of the time I'm not that advanced when I come to planning. I like to think that I'm a planner and I do really well, but I'm not. Oh, we got spam. Um So, yeah, I mean, I think it's great. Like, I love I absolutely love making my own. Making my own bread. Um, One other thing that I've done, like, recently today, over the last couple days, is I started doing, like, simmer pots. Does anybody know what those are? I love them. So, simmer pots, like, we've got our Christmas stuff up, and I have a fake Christmas tree, but I love it. And so I do these simmer pots where you just put like some, what do I have? Rosemary, some cinnamon, orange slices, and just put them in water and set them on the stove. It makes your house smell really good. Love it. Those have been my favorite. And it kind of makes your house smell um like Christmas, like a Christmas tree, even if you don't have a real one. So, yeah, I mean, those have all been some things that we've started. I mean, I think this winter, I definitely want to work on building some more skills like in the kitchen. Um, and working on stuff like that. Bread is a good one. Cheese is going to be a big one. Anything to do more so with dairy because I feel like I've avoided it. I don't know. I thought like animal products were going to be harder to do. I'm always like so concerned that I'm going to, do something wrong. But the more that I've done it, the less fearful I've become. And the whole concept of pressure canning, again, that digital pressure canner has changed the game for me. But even it's a really great way to kind of introduce yourself to the concept because it helps you get some um, experience under your belt. And so now I feel like I'd be confident enough to use a real pressure canner. We do have an All American that we got. So maybe I will try that. Maybe I'll try that this winter. Maybe I'll find something to pressure can and use like the all American one on the stove. That would probably make for a great video because I would be so nervous. Cottage cheese or curds. Yes, I've heard cottage cheese. There's also this thing called, I think it's called farm cheese or farmer cheese. Um, that one is like probably one of the easier ones, and I don't think I've ever had it before, but that'll probably be the first one that I do. Because that one looks fairly simple. That's like cheese 101. It's like up there with mozzarella. But I'm telling you, we made mozzarella and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, look at me. I'm a pro." And then I like read the instructions for like things like blue cheese and I was like, "Oh my gosh. I don't have it in me. I quit. I can't do it." I'm excited though. I'm gonna do blue cheese too. Like that's gonna be a big one for me. Okay, well, it looks like we've gone over our hour. So, does anybody have any like specific questions that you'd like to ask? I want to give everyone an opportunity. That was amazing too. I want to learn how to make cheddar cheese. If I could make my own cheddar cheese, it would be a game changer because that is like what that's what I use the most. Show us your Christmas stuff. That'd be really hard to do. I'm on my laptop doing this, but maybe I'm sure I'll get like an actual video up of our Christmas stuff so you can see it. You can stream for over 12 hours, but if you do, yeah, I wouldn't make it for 12 hours. I'm I I'm gonna stick to one because we've got stuff that we've got to get accomplished tonight. Um, I don't know. So I think that I would like to try and start doing lives a little bit more often. I don't know. I don't know what days and hours and stuff yet. I'm gonna still think through that one, but I think this is gonna. I'm gonna try and make this something regular. I know I've said that before, but I had fun with this. This was a blast. And I think it's great for people to kind of be able to hang out a little bit with us as opposed to just seeing us talking on a video. Can't wait to start my cucamelons. I think I'm going to start them in March. I'll be calling you to hold my hand. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the cucamelons, they take a while. I think we do usually start ours around March, but they stay really, really small throughout the summer. Um, and like then 1 week they just take off and then they cover everything. I will get a video up of Christmas stuff. I promise. I will work on that. I'm excited for your cucamelons too, though. I think you're really gonna like them. They're fun. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everyone jumping on. I had fun with you guys tonight. I wish you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving if you're in the States. I hope that everyone enjoys their time and eats a lot of food and has really great company. Thank you guys so much for jumping on tonight. I will keep you all posted when I'm going to be doing this again. Happy Thanksgiving. See you guys. Bye.